How you guys doing today? Jason A. Kuhn here, giving you a Fight the Deception with Christian Perception news brief for January 30th, 2014. We have a lot of news today. With a little time, we'll jump into it here at Infowars.com. Obama promises to enact gun control laws with or without Congress. Among a myriad of promises to create and sign laws using his magic executive order pen, the president vowed during last night's State of the Union address to pass more strict gun laws, even if it means bypassing the congressional process. Quote, I intend to keep trying with or without Congress to help stop more tragedies from visiting innocent Americans in our movie theaters, shopping malls, or schools like Sandy Hook, unquote, Obama said. Quote, citizens mean standing up for their lives that gun violence steals from us each day. Unquote. He continued, quote, I have seen the courage of parents, students, pastors, and police officers all over this country who say, we are not afraid, unquote. Wow. During the speech, Obama repeated comments he made days previously, noting that 2014 is going to be a year of action, essentially by President Fiat. Quote, wherever and whenever I can take steps without legislation to expand opportunity for more American families, that's what I'm going to do, unquote, Obama stated. Meanwhile, in response to Obama's speech, Rand Paul delivered his own SOTO, outlining a new way forward, heavily drawing on overtly libertarian proposals. Referring to an unemployment and dwindling economy, Paul stated, quote, if we don't understand the cause of joblessness, we'll have trouble fixing it, unquote. Again, quote, as we entered into the Great Recession, Republicans and Democrats misdiagnosed the problem as too little government. So they gave us more government in form of bank bailouts and government stimulus plans, unquote, the senator added. Quote, it's not the government's inherently stupid, although it's a debatable point, unquote. He said with a pause and cock of the head, quote, it's that the government doesn't get the same signals. Milton Friedman recognized that when he wrote, quote, nobody spends nobody else's money as wisely as they spend their own, unquote, Paul added, pointing toward free market libertarianism as a solution. And I agree. Let's move on here to benswan.com. A mental health assault on the Second Amendment by executive order. A few weeks ago, on January 3rd, 2014, the Obama administration quietly announced 2 new executive orders regarding gun control policy. With these pronouncements, President Obama, after failing to gain public support and a failed attempt to push legislation through Congress, has made absolutely clear his intention of now unilaterally imposing his gun control mandates. These new executive orders would allow the federal database access to mental health records by offering an exemption to existing laws that protect patient privacy, essentially overriding the Health Insurance and Portability and Accountability Act, the HIPAA, privacy rule protections in place for individuals' medical records. States that were once required by law to protect personal medical information will now be required to submit their patients' private and confidential records into the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, the NICS. Wow, that's from benswan.com. Let's move on here to Daily Mail. Exclusive, Obama's high school pot dealer, who he thanked for, quote, good times, unquote, was beaten to death with a hammer by his gay lover. Wow, President Obama's high school pot dealer, who he thanked in his yearbook for the, quote, good times, unquote, was beaten to death by his lover after a series of fights over flatulence and drugs. Mail Online can reveal today Raymond Boyer, known as Gay Ray to Obama and his marijuana-smoking Choon Gang, was bludgeoned to death with a hammer 7 years after he sold the future president and his friends drugs. His lover Andrew DeVere, a male prostitute, gave police a laundry list of reasons for the killing, including that Boyer, a surfer and unemployed chef, constantly put him down, made him beg for drugs, and had a habit of breaking wind in his face. No, I can't help but laugh a little bit on that one. Let's move on here back to Infowars.com. Protester. Cops laughed about having license to kill. A Fullerton resident who was arrested for protesting the acquittal of officers involved in the death of Kelly Thomas said police laughed and joked about having a license to kill while asserting, quote, there's a pack of 12 cops waiting to smash your effing faces in, unquote. 30-year-old Adam Walder was thrown in a paddy wagon after riot cops ordered demonstrators to disperse during a protest against the not guilty verdict, which saw Officer Manuel Ramos and Officer Jay Cicinelli acquitted in all charges of manslaughter and murder. Kelly Thomas, a mentally disabled homeless man, was beaten, tasered, and suffocated and pistol whipped as he lay on the street corner being sat on by no less than 6 police officers during an incident in July 2011. During the disturbing video of the beating, Thomas can be heard pleading for his father, moaning, quote, Daddy, Daddy, they are killing me, unquote, as officers prolonged the assault. Wow. Before the assault, Ramus told Thomas, quote, "Do you see my fists," unquote. Quote, "They're getting ready to F you up," unquote. Let's move on here to JoeForAmerica.com. Texas judge orders homeschool children removed from Christian parents' homes. Wow. Texas homeschool families need to take note of this case. While the parents won and should never have had their children taken, it is still a lesson in how the attitudes and beliefs of social workers can override the law. It seems to me that these judges and caseworkers need some kind of in-service training on homeschool laws. Mr. and Mrs. Tutt are a Christian family who has had their own children and foster children. They homeschool, and like most couples, they are equipped to handle special needs children who are particularly difficult to place. They recently had a temporary placement, a small child with autism who wandered off. While he was found a short way from the home, the father was looking for him by a police officer. Child Protective Services followed up by the investigation with a home visit. According to a recent article from the Texas Homeschool Coalition, a CPS caseworker investigated the Tutts family and concluded by saying, quote, "There is no problem here," unquote. However, the caseworker also remarked, quote, "Nobody in their right mind would want to stay home all day with so many children," unquote, and ordered Mrs. Tutt to enroll in parenting classes and take psychological examinations. Despite the fact that Mrs. Tutt showed CPS workers numerous parenting class certifications and paperwork certifying her mental health, a local judge ordered the Tutts' 7 children to be removed from the home. In November, armed constables seized the children and kept them under government custody for nearly 2 months. Wow. Let's move on here to WashingtonTimes.com. Senators try to sack NFL's nonprofit status. Senators Tom Coburn, Oklahoma Republican, and Angus King, Maine Independent, have started to push to end the not-for-profit status for the National Football League, saying it's only fair to taxpayers. Right on. Quote, "This is a directed tax cut that went to the league office, which means every other American pays a little bit more every year because we give the NFL league office a tax break and then call them a nonprofit," Mr. Coburn said on CNN's New Day. "In fact, they're not." Mr. King said on the program, "The bill only taxes the money that goes to the league office. The teams are separate entities. They pay taxes and they have their whole situation," he said. "The league was a foundation. Charitable wouldn't affect that." The league has a foundation, charitable, that wouldn't affect that. This is talking about the approximately $180 million a year that goes into the league office. Quote, "The NFL doesn't promote college football, high school football, arena football. It's a group of teams," Mr. King continued. Quote, "And by the way, I'm a huge NFL fan. I mean, sponsoring this bill may be wiping out my possibility of being a quarterback for the Redskins, which is a lifetime goal, but I don't think this is right," unquote. Wow. Let's move on here to NDTV.com. NASA to make water on Moon and oxygen on Mars. NASA is planning to launch robotic missions to make water on the Moon in 2018 and oxygen on Mars in 2020. The Moon missions will be the U.S. Space Agency's first attempt to demonstrate in situ resource utilization, ISRU, beyond Earth. The purpose of ISRU, or living off the land, is to harness the Utilis space resources to create products and services which enable and significantly reduce the mass costs and risk of near-term and long-term space exploration. Quote, "Every pound that you don't have to launch from the Earth to dumb mass, things like water and air and propellant, means that you can add a pound of intelligent mass and experiment a computer, something designed to accomplish some job or give some capability," unquote, said lunar geologist Paul Spotties with the Lunar and Planetary Institution in Houston. We'll move on here to independent.co.uk. You say laternal frontal lobe, I say that little devil angel that whispers in your ear. Scientists at Oxford University have made a startling discovery. They found a region of the brain that makes you wonder if you've done something wrong and whether you have been well advised to do something better. There are several things that you should know about this region, which is inside your head, and the head of lady sitting beside you on YouTube, the heads of David Cameron and Lady Gaga and Rogue Dragon Pursuivant of the Royal College of Heralds. 1, it's called the laternal frontal lobe. 2, it's unique to humans. They ran tests on monkeys in the course of the research at Oxford, and nope, they don't have it. 3, it's the size of a large Brussels sprout, and 4, it's a leap beyond current scientific knowledge into realms that can only be described as spooky. Wow, and this, I don't know whether to take this as good news or bad news. I mean, you know, every time all these scientists and the government will eventually use these type of tests to control us. So is this going to be proved as like the God gene or something like that, and they'll be able to manipulate it and control how you think and what you think is right or wrong? That's all the articles I got for you guys today. I don't want to leave you without the New World Order quote of the day. Quote, from the days of Spartacus, Weishaupt, Karl Marx, Trotsky, Rosa Luxemburg, and Emma Goldman, this world conspiracy has been steadily growing. This conspiracy played a definite recognizable role in the tragedy of the French Revolution. It has been the mainspring of every subversive movement during the 19th century, and now at last this band of extraordinary personalities from the underworld of the great cities of Europe and America have gripped the Russian people by the hair of their head and have become the undisputed masters of that enormous empire. Unquote. That is Winston Churchill, stated in the London Press in 1922. I don't want to leave you without the proverb of the day. Proverbs 23:12, King James only. Apply thine heart into instruction, and thine ears to the words of knowledge. That's all the articles, news, and quotes I got for you today. I'll leave you guys off with the song that I brought you in on. This is by The Burning Bush, titled Enemy's Camp.
Christ, and now my soul's been delivered. So drop your quiver and bowl, cause you know that the darts that you roll, they must stop and can't go through the shield that I hold. It's my faith. Woo! You know I'm saved by grace. So get digging in my feet and don't get up in my face. Cause you come with your quickness, try to steal all my riches. Till my God called his angels, and they broke out the switches upon your britches. I said some switches. Call it 911, better get you some stitches. We going down, down. How low? We going down to the enemy's camp. Let's go. We take it back. What's that? Everything that he stole. So everybody in the house, come on, let's go. We going down, down. How low? We going down to the enemy's camp. Let's go. We take it back. What's that? Everything that he stole. So everybody in the house, come on, let's go. In the name of the everlasting, I'm coming out blasting. Scripture, spiritually on the enemy, cause he's attacking me and my family, my integrity. Everything I got ain't quick till the fire got hot. You mad and I'm not, you cold and I'm hot, I'm bulletproof and you shot. By the word of God, you got pop. My God gets all the props. And I can't stop and I won't stop till that casket drop. Till the trumpet sounds and I leave these grounds, I'm looking for the lost and found. But he's got the sound.